So one of the best things that you can do with data is you can look at it and you can see potential trends, possibilities, and for the most part, a lot of this stuff will be hypothetical. What if I told you that like 5 years, even in the face of PlayStation themselves touting that they will never do something, I made a prediction based on data about something that they would do, and they did it, not because I'm anything more than just a regular guy, but because the data sometimes can lead you to believe that something that many may think improbable can actually happen. You want me to show you? And then we're going to talk about this Call of Duty thing, because some of you are already putting out some comments. And I'm laughing because, again, it's not like I'm drawing any final conclusions, but I'm seeing a data trend and I'm pointing to it. But some people don't believe it. So let's go back a little bit, okay? 6 years ago, somewhere around 2018, I made the video that I titled Why Marvel Spider-Man Should Be on PC. Discussion, critical analysis, where I looked through the data in terms of US gamers that were on PC compared to console. And I made the case that because of how well the console market was growing, Marvel Spider-Man 2 seemed like, at the time, Marvel Spider-Man 2 was not out then, sorry for misspeaking. I looked at the data and I realized that there's no way a game like Marvel Spider-Man would not benefit from coming to PC. Well, just before then, even Insomniac themselves had already gone ahead to respond to a lot of the, inquiry if the game was going to come to any other platform. And in that particular time, they said and mentioned that it will never appear on Xbox or PC. It's a permanent PS4 exclusive published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Now, if you want to get technical, you can say, Marvel Spider-Man on PS4 never came to PC. It was the remastered version that came to PC. But I guess the point still stands. The market changed and was already changing, actually, even after they had declared this. That when I made this video, a lot of people probably would have said at the time, man, that's insane. I don't think this is, what people would say. However, I will take, my flowers, because some people gave it to me like a year ago. Somebody said aged like fine wine. There were not really a lot of, comments because it was a video that didn't get a lot of views. But looking at the way the market was going at the time, I don't think it was actually too wild to say something like that. Now, all that to say, when you look at market trends, you can basically deduct just a little bit of what you think could potentially happen if those market trends continue to press as they always have. Now, what are you trying to get at, VG? Well, I'm glad you asked. Xbox, its current position with Call of Duty, the number of people who play Call of Duty, and how those particular numbers can influence where they move their gaming to, seeing as Xbox now owns Call of Duty. I said this in my last video, but I'm getting some comments that are like, this is not necessarily possible. It will never happen, according to some individuals. And I think to myself, why would anybody think that somebody who spends 100% of their time playing Call of Duty would not move to Xbox? Is it impossible to think, especially if Xbox found a way to actually put an in-game differential between them? Well, the reality is, even if you may think it's not possible, well, why don't we go ahead and look at what the data is saying and see perhaps maybe you can analyze or deduce that the possibility is there. So here's this comment that says that what I said is the craziest video from this channel so far. This person said this will never happen. Now, I have to remind you that in 2017, Insomniac Games basically used the word never. Now, I don't know what position you're in to actually declare something as never, but I would say Insomniac was probably in a closer proximity to actually insinuate that a game like Marvel Spider-Man would never, ever in that particular time make its way to PC. However, Insomniac themselves were wrong. I think you're probably setting yourself up when you say something like never. You said the same thing was said about Game Pass before their last two major acquisitions, ZeniMax and Activision Blizzard. Now, I don't know who said that Game Pass was going to pull people across platforms. Maybe somebody said that, but what data sets did they have to actually make that claim? In my case, I have the data set for PlayStation players and the way they engage with Call of Duty. I also have the data from the leak that came from Insomniac, where PlayStation set out what the threat would be if Call of Duty were in the hands of Xbox. So I don't know what those people said. I don't know where they got their data from. I don't know what their analysis looked like. But I'm giving you what I think the meaning of the data, if actually, if it works through in terms of following the marketing trend, it's not impossible to see people actually move their gaming from PlayStation to Xbox. And it's not everybody. It's actually a very small select set of people that have the likelihood of doing that. So again, maybe those people were saying, well, you're going to see a lot of people jump ship because of Game Pass. But those folk did not carefully pay attention to what the data set says. So let's look at the data very carefully. Number one, in 2021, over 14 million PlayStation users spent at least 30% of their time playing Call of Duty. These folk are unlikely to leave the PlayStation platform because 30% of their gaming is Call of Duty. It's almost to say that without any reservation, a majority of their library is already built on PlayStation where they play most of their games. So I don't think they're going to be the target. There's another set. 6 million users spend 70% of their time on Call of Duty. Yeah, if they spend 70% of their time playing Call of Duty, then they probably also play other games that are maybe multi-platform. Maybe some of them are exclusives. If they bought the PlayStation to play those exclusives, then there's a likelihood that they can't even move because they built their library on there. However, there is at the time, or was at the time, 1 million users who only play 100% of their gaming on a PlayStation on Call of Duty. This is the likely user base that can more than likely easily move to the Xbox side. And if this number has grown before the acquisition of Call of Duty's, publisher, then you can see how they can actually feel the need to move if there is an in-game differential between the Call of Duty access on PlayStation and on Xbox. Those are the criteria that I've set. It's a very specific one. And I think a lot of people jump in. When you say something, they look at the general, essence of it, which is fine. But you also got to remember that this is a very specific thing. Just like my video in 2018, it was based on a specific trend of how the PC market was growing very fast and more people were jumping to the PC platform. Keep in mind that this was at the highlight of PlayStation 4's big push around 2016, when the console had already pretty much, for the most part, decimated Xbox, and Xbox users were maybe more than likely going to PlayStation, and there were no hopes of any exclusives making their way to PC, of which now, even as Insomniac once said never, they've now pretty much become what I think a past conversation, where even when I said that PlayStation was going to need to put its games on PC day and date, I was also told that that would never happen. However, I can pretty much say to you that I'm now batting 2 for 2. They now have not just 1, but 2 brand new video games published by PlayStation day 1 on PC that do not meet the live service criteria. You notice how I actually framed that? Because again, when you say this, people will be like, well, they already said that their live service games were coming. I know, but they already said that they were not planning on releasing AAA games on PC in the first place. However, I'll give you the live service one. But the one I'm not going to give you is Lego Horizon and Lost Soul Aside. Lost Soul Aside being a game that they published coming to PC day 1. So I'm looking at the market trends and I'm telling everybody that based on what we're seeing, this is going to be a thing. At first, people used to say, no, it will never happen. But then I've noticed they've shifted their tune to, well, it's only these kinds of games. Don't worry. I'm not going to get you. The market will. You better watch out for that boogeyman. And so they said then again, after they got Activision, it didn't happen. In fact, Xbox console sales dropped even more. The only way this will happen is if you can only get Call of Duty on PC or Xbox, and Microsoft can't do this for 10 years. But here's what you fail to realize. When PlayStation was looking at the threat of what Call of Duty would look like in the hands of Xbox, they said this, that the threat was a shift from PlayStation to Xbox with timing and in-game differential as the weapons. What would that look like? Well, in-game differential is no longer necessarily a possibility. However, timing and being able to put their games on Game Pass day and date, that's where the external differential also comes into play. And with this, you hear what I'm saying? There's that likelihood that this 1 million player base will more than likely have an incentive, or whoever they are, to make their moves to Xbox. That's it. Now, keep in mind that this is a small number of users. And to be honest, does Xbox care that they come to Xbox or not? I don't think Xbox really does care. Their business, as described by PlayStation, is already comprehensive in many fronts. Subscription, console, PC. I already ran the numbers for you guys, and you guys already saw that the profit margin is insane. Like, even if 1 million people were to go ahead and make their way to the, Xbox platform to play Call of Duty, it's going to, add a little bit in terms of the, positive impact to their net revenue and possibly net profits. But it really is not going to do too much, to be very honest with you guys. Yeah, it'll be significant. I mean, I did like a little analysis sheet thing back in the day, a few days ago, where I showed Game Pass subscription and Call of Duty based on the numbers that we got from previous two Call of Duties and what we have now. And I kind of split it across the board with the 800 million that PlayStation claimed that it was making from Call of Duty, and a potential, the largest percentage on PlayStation. And I gave Xbox kind of what I thought would be its number, and Steam and all that. And yes, the units in terms of sales for Call of Duty for Xbox is pretty much, half of what you would see, or even maybe less than half. However, if you add that 1 million users in this particular ecosystem, you're going to see an uptick in terms of the revenue overall that you're going to get here, which, to be very honest, it will just reduce the numbers from PlayStation overall. But it's not really, in my opinion, a significant change or a significant delta, if you understand what I mean. So again, the main thing that you have to look at here in this particular discussion is, if this in-game or this external, aspect or in-game differential or whatever it is compelling enough, then you already have basically Xbox poaching PlayStation players physically. But to be very frank with you, that's not really how Xbox is wanting to even poach a lot of these PlayStation players. Project Latitude is basically the strategy, because PlayStation doesn't have as much money to develop games at that level in terms of, cadence, and in terms of the frequency. Xbox, on the other hand, has literally like 5 publishers worth of video games. It's insane, where they have Activision as a whole publisher, Blizzard as a whole publisher, King as a whole publisher, Xbox Studios as a whole publisher, and Bethesda as a whole publisher underneath their wings. So that's a lot of games that they can publish, and they're going to bring a lot of those games to PlayStation. That is exactly how they want to poach the PlayStation player. It's insane, isn't it? So in one hand, I'm making this video telling you that there's a likelihood to poach some Xbox players, but it's a very small number. And a lot of people are hyper-focused on that. That's never going to happen. But really, the big play is that they've already gotten you where you're sitting. They didn't even have to move a finger. Because, yes, the net benefit will be a little higher if they got you to switch platforms or consoles. But you being comfortable where you are is already a work of marvel in an industry where the so-called noise about exclusivity is basically failing. Like it's waning ragged, in my opinion. So I thought I'd go ahead and put that out there and, try to be more specific, because I thought it was very interesting to see some of the responses. So talk to me in the comment section. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.